What is going on, you guys? It's your girl Diana, back at you with another YouTube video. It's Sunday, which means it's time for your weekly news roundup. So today we'll be going over some updates that we have on the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC, a possible timeline for when we might be getting Pokemon Home connectivity, and clearing up some rumors for the Pokemon anime. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So starting off with the Pokemon anime, it's no secret that people have been kinda disappointed with the direction that Ash and Pikachu's final send-off series has been going, since they expected something bigger and grander for their final goodbye. And this translation to an interview question about how the creators came up with the storyline concept did not help at all, as the user who translated the answer said, Yuyama's comments in Animedia basically explained that they had a general concept for this series, Ash just traveling around being a kid, and a finale ready. But everything else is basically there because they needed to fill some additional weeks. And the stuff that happens in them happens because someone said, why not do this? The Latias subplot is there because they wanted a running subplot about a Pokemon following Ash in order to make the episodes connected. And it's Latias because why not? Not because they had any Latias specific plan in mind. Brock and Misty are back because Ash needed some travel mates, and why not them? Not because anyone had any grand plans for those particular characters. And today's episode exists because why not bring all the old Rocketmons? So clearly this interpretation of this response came after this week's episode, which was centered around Team Rocket, and they brought all of their old Pokemon back. But let's continue. Not to do a big finale for the Rocket trio. It was never meant to be a big finale series tying up loose ends or revisiting old plot threads, nor was it meant to be chapters in a story exploring what it means to be a Pokemon master. It's just the staff coming up with stuff to fill weeks because they have weeks of Ash traveling around with no particular goal in mind, to fill until they reach the finale. So clearly this user is kind of on the same page as a lot of people and is basically not happy with the direction that the show has been going, and took the answer that they gave in the interview as kind of confirmation, saying that they didn't really have a big grand plan as to what they wanted to do with the series. They kind of just slapped some stuff together to make it like one big filler series until we reach the finale and then move on to our new protagonist. Which of course this interpretation of the answer really stirred up the Pokemon anime community. However, thanks to Emo Parker, we actually have a more direct translation as to what was actually said in the interview, and it definitely does not sound as bad as the interpretation that that user was giving. So the question was, how did the current series aim to be a Pokemon master become a thing? And Yuyama stated that it started with the idea of tracing Ash and Pikachu's journey one more time. When it came to his travel mates, we basically just went, it has to be Brock and Misty, I guess. It was such a natural decision, and I don't really remember exactly how we arrived at it. I like that trio. Those two just kind of fit into the group, and it makes Ash's 10-year-old boyness very pronounced. We wanted to depict world battling champion Ash as temporarily forgetting about everything he's been through on his journey and just living the life of a 10-year-old boy again. So clearly, the more direct translation just kind of shows that they were not really focusing on Ash as a trainer and his battling skills, but they wanted to go back to basically the Gen 1 anime, when Ash was just a 10-year-old boy traveling with his best friends, exploring the world of Pokemon with no big grand scheme in mind, except for the fact that he did want to be a Pokemon master one day. So it's kind of like this big stretch goal that he had, which honestly, I think so far they kind of have done a good job of that. It does feel very much like the old anime where everything was just kind of silly and lighthearted, and he actually acted like a kid. Because we have to remember that in the anime, Ash is 10 years old, since technically the last 25 years were supposed to happen in like literally a year. But clearly they were going for more of a slice of life type of anime. It wasn't just something that they slapped together to fill some time until the new anime. They just wanted something that was more lighthearted. They didn't want to focus on anything too crazy. So I'm glad that someone posted a more direct translation as to what was actually said in the interview, because I feel like this really clears up a lot of misconceptions that were kind of floating around the internet after that initial more opinionated translation of what was said. But switching gears over to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Riddler actually tweeted out a couple of hours ago that it looks like we might have a timeline for when we might be able to connect Pokemon Home to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which obviously we have yet to receive an actual definitive date or timeline from the Pokemon company themselves. But Riddler's tweet reads, well, Scarlet and Violet Regulation C hinted that Home will be available between April and June, and also Move Reset should be a thing according to the description below. which he did post the English translation for us. So he's literally said, in case you can't read Chinese. So it says that Regulation C will be happening between Saturday, April 1st, 2023 to Friday, June 30th, 2023, which is where we get that April to June timeline that he was talking about in his tweet. And we can see below where it says eligible Pokemon, it says Paldea Pokedex numbers 1 through 398 are eligible to participate. Certain Pokemon may not be used. But the thing that Riddler Koo is focusing on and why he thinks that we are going to get our connectivity between April and June is a little footnote at the very bottom that says only Pokemon obtained in the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet games are eligible. Which obviously, as of right now, there is only Paldea Pokemon available in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet because we have no connectivity yet. But it looks like this footnote was added in recently. So maybe it's a stretch, but maybe it is a hint as to when we might be getting this connectivity, which I mean, June is kind of midway through the year, so that is a little late for early 2023, but we do have that April to June timeline, so maybe we'll get it sometime in April. And lastly, in regards to the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC, it looks like we now have a list of the Pokemon that were not able to be data mined in the leaks that we already went over regarding all of the Pokemon that were supposed to be returning in the DLC or via Pokemon Home once we get that connection. Which Central Leaks actually retweeted this tweet that the makers of Pokeos.com, which was the website that we used in order to see all of the data mined Pokemon that should be returning, tweeted out, which they said, if we consider the list of Pokemon that should be available soon in Scarlet and Violet with DLC and via Home, these 15 Pokemon are the only ones left that are not available on the Switch. Unova and Samurott should be available thanks to Hisuian form that should be transferable via Home. Oshawott and Dewott are available in Legends, but the Snivy and Tepig line are not available in any Switch game. They are all Gen 5 Pokemon, Black and White remake soon, except for Furfrou. And this is a list of Pokemon that will not be returning to Scarlet and Violet and technically have never been on the Switch since it released, which are the Snivy line, so Snivy, Servine, and Serperior, Tepig, Pignite, and Emboar, which nobody cares about those. Just kidding, I'm sure that's someone's favorite Pokemon, but it's not my favorite Pokemon. Patrat and Watchog, once again, I do not care about them. Pansage, Simisage, Pansear, Simisear, Panpour, and Simipour, or however you want to say them. I quite literally could care less about this entire line of Pokemon, so I never actually learned how to pronounce their names. And Furfrou. Now, me personally, I can definitely see why something like Furfrou wouldn't be included because it has so many different like haircuts and forms that it can come in, so that would definitely be annoying to put in one of these games. As for the other Pokemon, like the Patrat line or Pansage and all its other variants, I just feel like they're not very popular Pokemon, so they're probably just like, why should we add them? I do find it kind of odd though that they are not including 2 of the starters. I feel like it's kind of random, especially because I feel like Serperior is a pretty popular Pokemon. Can't really see the same for Emboar, but I know Emboar does have like a niche group of people that do really like it. But like I said, I just feel like it's kind of random for them to leave out 2 starters. Maybe Pokeos is onto something. Maybe we will be getting a Black and White remake soon because they are leaving out these starters. Maybe that's a stretch, but I don't really see why else they would leave out the 2 other Unova starters. But there you have it. That is all of the information that we have regarding the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC, a possible timeline for when we might be able to connect to Home, as well as clearing up some misconceptions in the Pokemon anime community. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, I kindly suggest that you consider subscribing so that I can continue to make content for you guys. And if you would like another way to support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store. There is a link down below in the description that takes you to not only my merch store, but also all of my other socials so you can keep up with what I'm doing on a daily basis. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to those of you who have joined the channel as members. I appreciate you all so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.